two people came in at the same time, and she's just like telling like, go follow them. And I'm like why? I don't like they'll ask me questions if they need it. And I get it from the like safety perspective, like you don't want people going through people's belongings or anything like that, but you also don't need to be 2 inches away from them the whole time and like making comments. Oh, look at this bedroom. It's got lovely broadloom that was recently installed in 2015.
I want one.
Building a successful real estate career requires you to adapt, pivot, and constantly master new skills.
We're Katie and Daniel Steinfeld. We've built our own innovative brokerage, and in this podcast, we've assembled actionable tips and strategies that you can implement to take your business to its maximum potential.
It's time to level up. Level up. Level up.
Open house season is back.
If you want it to be.
Fine. You're such a dark cloud.
I'm not a dark cloud. Just some people don't like doing open houses.
I learned that firsthand.
I respect opinions on this.
I do
perspectives.
Too. I have nothing but respect for everybody and everything. Even those people who look like stock photos of "please call now, operators are standing by," which is what you look like today. But saying that you look like a stock photo, though, which, that's kind of a compliment. A stock photo is, it's a nice looking person.
Yeah.
You do look like the kind of thing I'd see at like the bottom corner where it says, "Chat with us. Operators are here." That's you.
Well, if people aren't watching this on video, I have a headset on today because I couldn't, or actually to be honest, I was too lazy to go upstairs to get my normal headphones. So I've got
that's pretty
lovely
lazy.
Headset.
Let's be real, though. You just really didn't want to cross paths with our children because if you go upstairs...
No, I didn't want to go No, I didn't want to go upstairs because it stinks up there because our dog just pooped out a sock, which I cleaned up before this podcast. So I like, you know that smell that you smell it and you can actually taste it in your mouth?
Oh, you mean like pooped out socks?
Yes, that's what I was tasting, pooped out socks. So I don't want to go up there until it subsides.
I feel like that's one of the flavors on that weird jelly bean game. Like pooped out sock.
I think poop is one of them, isn't it? Stinky socks is definitely one.
Yeah, but they couldn't do the taste of poop. How would they know? How would you know?
How do you know what stinky socks taste like?
It's true, but you know what? They've captured the essence of it because I've eaten that one and it does taste like a stinky sock.
I think it comes back to the fact that you're smelling it so much that you actually taste it. So you get it right because, well, I don't know. I just think that there's a science behind it.
You know what? I'm not segueing to it now because it's jumping way too much into the meat of this episode, but smell is going to be something that we talk about today when we talk about open houses.
So excited.
I want to excite the audience's senses.
Wow. I'm sure this is going to keep them listening.
Well, right now their senses are in a different place than excited right now.
Yeah, let's switch over to like the smell of like lavender or something because stinky sock poo isn't the one.
You know what? Why don't we switch to the senses of sight and sound and maybe stay away from the noses for the balance of the episode?
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Open houses we were talking about. We got severely diverted into something different.
You know what? It's a fair play if a dog poops out a sock that's going to distract you from whatever you're doing. That's fair.
I like, it's good keeping it real because I feel like people that are listening to this probably have had similar things happen to them today and you were not alone. If your dog pooped out a sock, you were not alone.
And I really don't want to dwell on this, but I'm going to because this morning when we woke up, what did I walk into where he was sleeping in his bed?
He's got I don't know how he's getting these socks.
But it was a roll. It was a ball of socks and a scrunchie that had both been thrown up. So it's going in and it's coming out.
I don't know how it really
goes in.
Digests. How does it digest?
Well, they're not digesting. Well, they're not breaking down.
Well, I know, but it's going through his entire system. Digestive system.
That's the one.
I understand you would throw it up because it can't go any further, but the way
But yeah,
it
how did
comes
it?
through.
I don't know how it came out the back. Because
No, I
like
don't.
I've seen those pictures of intestines. Like that's a long
I know.
tube.
Well, dogs are weird. I feel like dogs just
It's
have.
just no tube. It's just a straight cylinder from mouth
I don't
to
know. We just
other
have to keep
mouth.
an eye to make sure we don't have too many socks laying around because obviously that's his go-to.
That
Socks and
is.
scrunchies.
They were polka dot socks
Anywho,
this morning too. So
oh, so he got okay because he pooped out a polka dot sock.
yeah, he's got a taste
So
of polka dots.
it was the pear.
But it
We
wasn't
got the
but
pear back.
it was a pear this morning. It was the ball. Maybe
Oh,
it
the
wasn't.
entire ball.
Yeah. Well, maybe it
Oh,
was just really rolled up and it was one that looked like a ball.
yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway,
We'll have a dog digestive specialist on a future episode of Level Up. Right now,
we're gonna be told we can't be parents to dogs anymore because we're.
in fairness, we're
socks.
not the parents of the dog. We're the foster parents. We're the adoptive parents.
All right. Moving on from
he's fine.
dogs.
He didn't have to clean it. And because I drew the long straw and I'm in the basement rather than the main floor, I didn't clean it either.
I know.
All right. Well, open houses. That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
I think so.
I believe it is. So I guess this is a topic we wanted to jump into because we've talked about it a bit, about things opening back up and things getting a little bit more comfortable, people going out looking at houses. And with that, the rules around open houses have been, I don't even want to say relaxed. You're just allowed to do them again. And there is a responsibility attached to it. But I don't really think this is entirely about open houses in the COVID era, although I think we should talk about that. But just open houses in general are not something we've touched on. And like you said, it is a polarizing subject more than it should be. I don't know why people feel so passionately about pro or con with
No,
open
I don't know if
houses.
it's like so passionate. I just think, people either enjoy doing them or they refuse to do them and don't think they do much for the actual listing, which, I mean, I think they do. I mean, you never
It depends.
know. You never know.
I get the argument, and for people who just have that as an argument, that's fine. But you know how against people with absolute opinions I am in every respect of everything. And this doesn't have a clear answer, right? And when somebody is just adamant about how useless they are,
Yeah.
that's not a fair argument. It might not be something you choose to do, and that's cool. More power to you. I don't do open houses on all or many of my listings, but there's a time and a place, and there is value that they bring, both potentially for the listing and otherwise, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it rather than me
Let's
being a
talk
big
about it.
hater party.
Okay, well, why don't you start off by talking to us about how yours went today? Because it's the first time you've done one in
2 years.
2
at
years.
least, yeah.
So you're
So-
a little rusty, maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was rusty when I did my last one before this one too, probably. But yeah, so today was my first open house in a while, obviously because of the rules around not being able to do them. And I did learn some new things today. So I don't know, I guess I can talk a bit about what I experienced. The good news was that it was pretty well attended, which I guess might be the first worry or concern of people who are thinking about whether or not to do it. Are people actually going to show up?
Mhm.
Especially in this time. I mean, every open house you do, you're sitting there and wondering, and we've had open houses where you set everything up, you put out food, you're playing music, you got the incense or whatever. It's all like such a good incense is the wrong word. Whatever. You've got like your atmosphere, and then you spend 2 hours just on your phone or like walking or staring out the window with a single tear or whatever, wondering and like posting Instagram stories about like, hey, I'm at my open house, and then you turn it off and you cry again.
Yeah.
So that wasn't what it was today, which was really good. I think it was a pretty good balance. We saw families, we saw single folks. It was inside of a condo building, which definitely brings its own unique challenges and needs to prepare that you won't see with a home that has a front door and a porch that people can pull up to. Definitely ran into that today because thankfully one of our agents, one of our colleagues, Jamie, was there with me today, which was a godsend because this particular building had one of those foyers you need to buzz in from with its own lock, no concierge. And then we were a unit farther in the building. So unless you have somebody at that door keeping an eye out for people, or you've got some sort of a communication at that door, a sign or something, if you're allowed, that directs people what to do when they get there, you can imagine how frustrating that would be for someone showing up and not knowing what to do when they get to a locked door. So it was a great thing that there were two of us. We were sort of on a rotation of being doormen and unit men in this particular open house. But I'll be doing it again tomorrow. And tomorrow we will set up more of a sign system out there that directs people to text us or reach out if they're at the door, so that if in fact things are busy on the inside, we can actually leverage two people to manage the traffic. But yeah, it was for me, the number one concern going in was, is anybody going to show up? And thankfully people did. On the other side of the coin, what I think is, I think you kind of told me that I might be overreacting, and I might be. But I do think there's a bit of a different kind of movement against open houses now. People who don't feel that they are the responsible thing to do. And I get that, because if you're not doing them responsibly, and we've seen, I guess in the beginning of COVID, I remember people were doing open houses. There were images of lineups and gatherings and crowds.
Well, and at that time, the market was so crazy too. So it was the perfect storm. Yeah.
So that is something that I think is maybe not as big a deal now, but it is, because I had open house signs up throughout the neighborhood. And when I came out to pick them all up, they had all been, from what I believe, taken down. You're saying maybe it was the wind, but they were all uniformly taken down and put down in the exact same manner, which tells me somebody saw open house signs and dropped them.
Yeah. I mean, the way you say they were taken down, it makes sense, because usually when open house sandwich boards fall over because of the wind, they're like literally flat on the pavement. So I'm not saying it's not, but I wouldn't jump to conclusions either, just because it was very windy outside today, and our open house sandwich boards, the ones that we have, we need to get new ones. I mean, when I first started, we had those A-frame ones, those metal ones, and they seem to do better at sticking. Definitely
they dug a bit more into the grass.
Well, if there was grass, yes, but like if it was even on the pavement, it would. They seem to like set better. I don't know. It just, maybe if anybody has a good solution. I've seen people put like bricks or like sandbags between the legs so they don't fall out.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, well, I mean, let's talk about signage, right? Let's start in the prep for the open house.
Right.
You have the ability to direct people to your open house in a lot of ways leading up to it. I mean, if you're on a board that gives you the opportunity to point out the open house in a way that people can look it up or see it in the listing, that's great. Whatever advertising you choose to do, social media or whatever is great. But on the day of the open house, you're also relying on foot traffic or the people who are seeking it out to be able to find it pretty easy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I don't know, what do you say? Like 4 or 5 signs is generally a good number. Like I know people that will put, I've seen on forums like 20, 40,
insane.
Like 40. Like, I mean, I know it's advertising for you, and there's people that pay other people to put out their signs in the morning or whatever it is. But to me, that's crazy, especially because most people are finding out about the open house on realtor.ca. They don't need that much direction to get to a house. Everybody's got Google Maps, I would think.
Totally. Like for me, I don't think I've ever put more than 6 out, but it's a function of where and how is it situated. Yeah. Like relative to major streets and turns that somebody would miss it at. Like this particular one today was sort of the middle of 2 major streets off of the same connecting street. So I put one on each major street going in, one on the street that leads to this one, and then one right in front of the building. So people knew that they were there. So kind of lucked out, other than the fact that they were all taken/blown down.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had so many funny stories with putting out open house signs or just trying to pick them up. Like I've had open house signs blow out onto a busy road.
Oh yeah.
And they get destroyed or they're run over. because sometimes, like, I remember, like, I'd be really dumb and put them like in one of those medians, like on a busy intersection,
Yeah.
which is so dumb. Like, I don't even think you're really allowed to do that, but yeah, like it always didn't. And then I'd be like going to pick them up and like trying to cross the road, and like you have all these signs. It just was like so stupid.
And it's a bad visual when people are literally running over your name.
Yeah,
in the
well,
middle
they
of the
was flattened
street.
out the other way, but
Oh,
yeah,
that's
no,
good.
still, yeah. But I do also remember a time where I was putting it on a corner, and it was on the pavement, and this guy comes out, and like it was on the corner. There was just like a strip mall kind of thing with like a community. I can't talk today. A convenience store. But I put it on the pavement, not on the grass, not on the like. And the guy comes out and he's like, "You're on my property. Get your sign off my property." I'm like, "I'm on the pavement. Like that's not your property." Anyway, I moved it because I thought he was gonna like steal it because he was really crazy. So anyway, yeah, I think,
and I'm the
like,
conspiracy theorist.
well, he just looked a little like he was
Suspect, a little sus.
not suspect, but like he was just being very dramatic about an open house sign that was going to be up for 2 hours. However, there's also the
people who don't take them down.
The people that keep them up for a week. So, make sure you're looking at the sign bylaws, because I know certain cities have gotten into agents in certain cities have gotten into trouble to the point where you're not even allowed to put open house signage up. Like I believe it's Richmond Hill, where they completely disallowed agents from putting any signage up because it was just getting so crazy.
Yeah.
So don't abuse the system. Make sure that you're putting them where you're allowed to put them, and make sure you're picking them up and not putting them out for longer than, because in Vaughan, you can leave them out. I believe it's overnight. So you could put them out Saturday and have them picked up on Sunday, but there's rules. Every different city is different.
Well, and in my opinion, I mean, it reflects badly if you're leaving it out there because it's an H frame that if somebody steals it or it breaks, it's going in the garbage anyway. And so you put out a ton. Yeah. I don't like that, because if it says open house and it's out there on a Wednesday, like people are going to see that. That tells me there's an open house. And if it says open house Saturday, Sunday, and it was for the previous weekend, people are going to come out the following weekend. The place might be sold already. Just be responsible.
Yeah.
And as far as the signage goes in terms of placement, honestly, this is a very interesting time to look at it, because right now is also a federal election.
Oh, sure.
And the sign strategy of candidates is not too dissimilar from the sign strategy of open house signs, because when things are busy and as open houses pick up again, you will see multiple signs on same corners. And I mean, what's your take on that? Like, to me, I obviously want to do unto others as I would want done to me. So I'm not going to put my sign right in front of the other one that's there.
No.
But it's tough sometimes if you've got a bunch there and everybody's kind of bunched together with arrows in different directions. It just looks like a hot mess.
Yeah, I usually don't get involved in the hot mess and I move on.
So choose another corner, like just know that someone's turning that way already because there's a million arrows going that way from other people.
Yeah, like to me, I'm just a believer that the interested people that want to see the open house know the address. It's more like the randos that are coming in that see, oh, look, an open house, and they like drive. Like, I honestly feel like open house signage really isn't that required in this day and age. I feel like it was needed back in the day when, people weren't looking things up online. You couldn't like throw an address into a map. Like, so it's a fine balance, and I get from a marketing and just putting your name out perspective, but I don't know.
It's funny too. Our name isn't even on our open house sign.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah. Well, like, I think if it's a condo, to me, I just put one right in the front of the building normally, because you're on busy streets. Like, people are walking by, it's going to get knocked over, or some asshole's going to walk by and kick it. Like, that's just what's going to happen. So that's usually what I do. And then if it's a house, I might look at like the two different ways to get into that immediate neighborhood, like at the busier street, and like direct people that way. But otherwise, I'm just putting one out in the front of the house to confirm to people that there actually is an open house. And that's it.
Okay. So to close out signs, a couple of last points, even though we're talking signs to death here. We're not even in the open house yet.
I know.
One is, this is just lessons that we've learned too. Like,
Yeah.
we got these sandwich boards, and let's not worry about brand or anything like that, but we got them with that rewritable dry erase.
Yeah.
And our signs, so we got those signs. I know how long ago they were because the address that's baked into them is the first open house we ever did, because the dry erase, either the marker or the surface, didn't take, and we didn't wash it off quick enough. And so every time we go out now, we're pasting a piece of paper on top of the existing marker with another address. So that's something you can do. A lot of people do that. I don't think they do it because of unresolved marker issues. But just be aware of the material and the use of what you have, because it's not ideal what we have. You've already mentioned we need new ones, and we will get new ones. And the other thing is, if you've got a sign post, one way to get people who are passersby interested is maybe just have the rider that says open house Saturday, Sunday with times, because people who see signs and are interested, it's helpful to them. They might not be surfing realtor.ca. They might not be doing stuff like that, but they can commit to memory. Oh, that house that looks good, that had the coming soon sign or the for sale sign, we can come back here on Saturday. It's going to have an open house. So to me, that's signage that's a little bit more reasonable if you've got it, or if you're not already all ridered out on the top and the bottom with other stuff. That's all I have to say about signs.
All right.
At the moment.
Moving on. So people have found your Lopen house.
My Lopen house.
Your open house, and now they've walked in. What do you do? What do you do?
Like Keanu Reeves.
I know.
Oh, that was good. That was dramatic too. Even the I know was dramatic. Okay, you're done. Okay, so let's treat this, in this particular case, not like a condo that we had. Like someone's actually made it to you. Okay, so this isn't they're twiddling their thumbs in a foyer wondering where you are. Like they're actually coming in. We had a lot of good talks about this today, actually, because I think people treat this in different ways. I'm curious what your approach is when somebody comes in. You're smiling and nodding. Is it because you're thinking of something that people do, or
just a memory? Of
you at an open house, or somebody else?
No, of another agent. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to use names. What's the memory? It must be good.
So when I worked at another brokerage, an agent put out to the whole brokerage, if anybody's interested in helping me host an open house, and it was down the street from us. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help, thinking that we would split the leads, like if anything comes in. But it was her listing. So it was very clear when I walked in there that I was not there to get any sort of business. It was simply to support her in the hope that there's a lot of people coming through, and I'm making sure everybody signs the open house register, and we're getting proper names and emails. So
we're getting. She's getting.
She's getting. Yeah, exactly. But the entire, and I offered to do it for both days, and I felt bad if I canceled on her for the second day. So I did it both days, and I think there was maybe like 2 people through the whole weekend that came in. So it was even worse, and she really wasn't that fun to talk to. So, but when the people did come in, she was 2 inches away from them the entire time. And to me, it's just so uncomfortable. I always put myself in their shoes, and I don't want to be followed around. I want to feel like I can speak freely when I'm going from room to room, or a little bit at least. I understand there's cameras nowadays and all that, but like it was really awkward. And actually, I don't know how this happened. Maybe 2 people came in at the same time, and she's just like telling me, like, go follow them. And I'm like, why? I don't like, they'll ask me questions if they need it. And, I get it from the like safety perspective. Like you don't want people going through people's belongings or anything like that. But you also don't need to be 2 inches away from them the whole time and like making comments. Oh, look at this bedroom. It's got lovely broadloom that was recently installed in 2015.
Ooh, I want one.
Maybe I should start doing that.
Maybe I'll sell more houses. Yeah, I don't know about lovely broadloom. Maybe.
That's my story, and that's why I smiled, because I do not agree with the following people around.
I agree with you on that. I think there's value in talking and building relationship, but there's not value in stalking. There's talking is stalking without the S. I just realized that. So drop the S. But I mean, people who come in, obviously you're going to introduce yourself. if you've got a sign in register or whatever, especially now with COVID, if you've got like a contact tracing form or something like that, you're going to want to just give them the protocol, like use reality and use common sense as a way to just have some introductory conversation. You're not going to be also the person which I've also seen. I've been to open houses where there's just an agent sitting at the dining room table on their computer and they don't even look
and you're
up.
like, is there an open house here? Are we
is
allowed
the
to walk
agent
around?
here? Yeah, is the agent here? Oh yeah, it's me, whatever. But so obviously that's the other side of the spectrum, but you want to allow people to know that you are there, you're knowledgeable and available to answer their questions. But I mean, I won't even follow them if they go to a different floor. Like I get the safety thing either, or the safety thing as well. And one also.
We're both like not. For the record, we're recording this on a Saturday night, and we're probably not all 100%.
I don't know.
There.
This is probably one of the most exciting Saturday nights we've had in a while.
That is
maybe
true.
That's why I'm all jittery.
True.
You got
oh my God,
pooped out socks and broken English. That is our Saturday night. But I think your job as someone at an open house, whether it's your listing or somebody else's, which I also want to talk about because you alluded to working other people's open houses. Absolutely. Your job is just to be the person who has the answers. You're not the person who's volunteering the answers necessarily. And it's even creepy if you overhear people talking about something and you're like, ooh, I know the answer to what they're asking. Let them come to you. When they come back, you're going to say, is there anything I can help you with? Are there any questions you had? I'm happy to whatever. And over time, if you don't already have a bit of a radar on the vibe you're getting from people, and people are different. Sometimes people seem like dry toast, but they're actually interested. Doesn't speak to their interest, but it does speak to the way you should be mirroring their behavior and the way you communicate with them, right? So if they're standoffish, you have to tread lightly. You're still there to help them. If they want to take your card, you've got their contact info already. You're probably going to follow up with them, but get a feel for what you need to get a feel for without being intrusive.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that open house registration form that we will give to people, because you should, even from a safety perspective, and as you said, contact tracing with COVID and all that, it's important to get their information. But be aware that a lot of people will give you BS information. Mm-hmm. There's been many times where I've called people afterwards and it's a wrong number or a disconnected number. The email address is like this gobbledygook email that I can't even decipher. I'm like, what does that say? Is that an S or an F?
Bad writing is definitely more than half of the stuff you see. You're going to be guessing, is that a 4 or is that a 0?
Yeah. Well, but that's where, if you get one of those apps, or there's services you can get where you have people, you have an iPad, that's the high-tech version that we've never really gotten into yet. Maybe now that we're back into open houses, we'll start looking into it, but at least that will avoid some data entry, some data errors there. But the
tech that you can use, I would recommend it if you are into the open house thing, if that's something.
Oh yeah, if you have no intention of doing open houses, don't get an open house. Don't get a year subscription to some sort of open house technology that you'll never use. But if you are, look into it. Don't get me started on
year subscriptions to things we're not going to use. Yeah. We're done with that. But anyway,
we're done.
What we? Yes, we.
I never signed up for a year for something.
We're going to take this offline.
Anyway, okay, so people are going to
want to know. People are going to want to know. Anyway,
it's true.
Yes, people are signed in, or not, or you've got that. To me, it is obviously useful. But if somebody doesn't want to be contacted, you're not going to be able to contact them. So don't take offense, right? Don't be upset if someone opts not to or puts the wrong info. There's a reason they're doing that. They don't want you to talk to them. So it happens. It's open houses as a lead gen mechanism
Yeah.
which is what we're talking about now, are a great lead gen mechanism for you and for me.
And the entire human race.
Well, yes, and the entire human race. But for the two of us specifically, we've built our business at the very beginning on open houses and not on our own was it your own listing? Oh, it was actually, I think, or it wasn't.
No, the first while I did every weekend I was doing somebody else's open house.
And sometimes they let you keep the leads.
No, but honestly, like I think back to some of my like core clients and how they're still clients and how much they've referred me. Like it's an amazing, like if you're a new agent, I would highly recommend using your weekends if you're not doing other things to do an open house, because you can get a lot of great leads, a lot of first-time home buyers that are not ready, that weren't ready yet to hire an agent, but are willing and open to doing it if they have a connection with the right person. And that's what happened to me. Like I got so many first-time home buyers from my own open houses and from open houses I did for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, and I do think that's why it gets a bad rep with more I guess experienced agents who already have their own business and don't need open houses to get to make money, because they say it's just a way for our agents to get leads. And I do agree that that's part of it, but I also feel as though there has been times where a buyer has walked into an open house, no intention really to buy, just kind of looking, and they end up buying the house. So it is still a marketing. It's not an ineffective, no ineffective open houses. It works. It's a marketing tool that you can use.
Well, and yeah, it's a lead gen thing. And it's a great way for you to build your craft as a realtor, right? If you're doing it for somebody else, especially.
You can mess up on their listings.
No. That's all, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Especially the people who have done open houses on our listings, like I feel like they're more prepared for our listing than I would be if I went, because of the responsibility. And obviously it takes that type of a person who feels accountable to it, but use this as a way to really learn about whether it's about properties and the things about the property, how to deal with clients, questions to be prepared for. You really get to experience it all. And whether it's an open house or whether it's your own buyer clients down the road, that's what you're doing here. And these are not cold door knocking, I hope somebody will talk to me leads. These are people who are coming, whether or not they're serious about buying the house. They're people who are actively taking time to walk into a house that you're sitting in to look at the house. So use that. If it becomes a lead, that's fantastic. If it doesn't, that's fine too, right? Like you're still having the experience.
And you're having the conversations. Like I think that's one thing that people get really nervous about, is talking to new people. And this is a great opportunity to test that out, because when you go into a listing presentation, you're meeting somebody for the first time, it can be really nerve-wracking. But if you have the experience and you've started to do that, you can feel more comfortable. So that's really important. The other thing, and now I've lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens.
Yeah. I'll wait for the train if you want.
Okay, wait. We were talking about.
Yes.
But there's also, the opportunity, if you are doing an open house, whether it's your own or somebody else's, before the open house, like head out half an hour beforehand if you're comfortable door knocking, or just providing some information to like the immediate neighborhood to let them know that there's an open house happening. We've done it's like almost like an invite only for the immediate neighbors, like half an hour before the open house begins, just to bring those people through and give them the opportunity to see the house, talk about value. That's a great way to get more leads with people that are interested in what the house eventually sells for. There's so much lead generating opportunities from open houses. It's unbelievable. And you're still doing a service to the seller at the same time. Like it's
That's
not
right.
like you're not.
Well, and your example of going out to the neighbors and talking to them is a really good bridge between a worry that a lot of sellers have about open houses, which is the only people who are going to show up are my neighbors.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're going to them preemptively, and everyone hates the word preemptive in real estate now, but if you're going to them ahead of time, having the conversation, maybe they'll come, and maybe they do become a discussion about their property. at your open house, and that's good for you, and it doesn't do your seller the service. I get that. But at the same time, you can go out there and do that and not infringe on your own open house either, right? And maybe get ahead of the nosy neighbors. That being said, in today's open house, at least one of the groups that came in was from inside the building, and they had a genuine interest to buy because they've got a relative who they want to move into the same building. So neighbors are not always a bad thing.
They're not always nosy.
They're not always nosy. And let's be real. Everyone who goes to an open house is some version of nosy. Like, they're walking into your house and they're looking around, and, you know, people are going to say what they say and judge what they're going to judge. But the same thing happens in a private showing, right? And probably more so when it's private than when the listing agent is sitting right there. You're not going to say things or do things that are unbecoming of a good buyer or a guest in somebody else's home. So
and especially if you live in that area, like if this is your farming area or you're doing an open house for somebody when it's in your own area, like the opportunity, like it's just another chance you have to introduce yourself to the people that you're ultimately looking to do business with. So the more you can have yourself out there, the better.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Like, it's a culmination of everything that you need in this profession. Like, it's today, I had one person ask about the schools in the area. I had one person ask about where the HVAC is and how it works, and what the maintenance fee covers and what's been renoed recently. Things like that. Our maintenance fee is going to go up. What do we know about, you know, things like that? And we can talk, if you've prepared yourself, you can talk about as specific as you want to get. But again, like you said, this is the ultimate way for you to role play relationship building with multiple people, because you get different people in the same scenario, and it will show you how you have to adapt and adjust to the types of people and the types of things that are being asked of you in like a very speed dating kind of a way, right? Because people are also, let's talk about this too. There's different types of people who come to open houses, right? We've talked about nosy neighbors, but the way that people behave, and I noticed today that this is not any different with COVID, you get the people who do the like one circle through and out the door and don't say a word. Yeah. But then you also get the people who are there to basically sit down, eat the peanuts, and try to talk to you for 90 minutes or just make themselves at home, right? Yeah. And part of your job is, sorry, go ahead. You're going to.
There's also another group of people, and I don't know if they're going to come out of the woodwork again, but I remember there were people like mortgage brokers or digital ad people, or it's people that are trying to sell you something, which I think is super tacky.
So tacky.
And they waste your time too, because they try to start a conversation with you when there's other people in the house. So just be aware of those people as well and figure out a way to shut them up before they start wasting your time.
On that note, you will also get people who come in with their agents.
Right.
And agents can be I would say most play it the right way, but there are those who will loudly talk up or talk down or make comments or whatever about the property in a way that other people hear. There's those that might have an ulterior motive, like maybe they have maybe agents who come in who are about to list in the area, or agents who have just had a listing or whatever. You have to keep your composure and keep your cool. And also at the same time, understand that you're running this show when it's an open house. You're not there to be a bouncer and ask people to leave or things like that. But you do need to maintain a control of the situation, the way people are behaving, the things that people are saying. And now also, you need to be aware of what your boundaries and guidelines are from a safety perspective with COVID right now. Yeah. With today, we did have a period where people showed up in larger numbers than we were expecting. It's just how it always seems to be. Like, you're dead for 45 minutes and then there's 15 minutes where everybody shows up. Yeah. But we had to make a call, and now I'll know going into tomorrow, of specifically how many people we're allowing in there. And so we held people outside to be responsible. And it's also good when you don't have a big space, you also don't want people all over each other when they're just trying to look at the home. Even, safety aside, just the enjoyment of the property is not achieved when you've got 15 people side by side. Exactly. So having your own game plan being clear about it. If you need to build signage or whatever, or collateral or whatever that reinforces that, it'll make you feel better. It's what we always talk about, you know, just being prepared for something and getting ahead of things that could go wrong so that they don't go wrong and that you're comfortable.
Right. Yeah. And I think this comes with a bit of experience too. Like, you know, you could be writing notes down. If you are, that's great. But until you run into these types of these different types of people, like you won't really grasp it. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what they were talking about with the like quick in and quick out. Like quick in, quick out is either they're really not obvious or they're not obvious. They're really not interested, or they really don't want to show their cards.
It's obvious that they're not interested.
It's obvious that they're not interested. Or I've had people, like an agent, call me afterwards, like, yeah, my client walked through the house and it happened to be that person that came in and came out, and they were just, you know, didn't want to say anything. So everybody, as you said, everybody has their own motive and own way of showing their cards or not showing their cards. And it's just about trying to navigate that. You've got to adapt your own personality to the personality and the approach that others are taking. And that's really what I think a good agent does overall. Like, you can't have the same approach with every single person. You're going to turn off a lot of people. You still be yourself, but you either, you know, push a little bit or you pull back a little bit. And over time, you'll get that. So if you're first starting out and you're hearing us talk about all this, and you're like, what the hell? Like, how am I ever going to figure this out? You'll figure it out. Like, you know,
Totally.
If you've got like a personal skills, which I think most of us do, it'll become obvious to you. But, and we still don't get it right. I don't have great connections with everybody that comes through an open house. But it's good practice, as we said before, just like for people skills. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah. And remember also that some of the people coming to the open house are more nervous than you are.
Yeah.
Right. So even if it's your first time, it might be someone's first time going to an open house, or somebody who doesn't know how to act in an open house or how this works. It's weird. I'm in somebody else's house. There's someone here. So you really have to be sensitive to that, but at the same time, not be nervous that you're the one in the room without the experience, right? Because you're running the show. I think you need to be respectful of the fact that if there are more than one person there, you've got a finite amount of time that you're running the open house for. So if you have someone who seems really interested and they're talking your ear off, but you've got a couple of other people who have been sort of touring and doing that wander mope, hoping to talk to you, and they might be edging towards the door, you also need to have, you know, it's not even rude. It's not rude at all to tell someone, you know what, there's a couple of other people who might have questions. Like, don't worry, we're going to continue this, or here's my card. Why don't I call you, or why don't we arrange a private showing?
Or, I mean, I think the better way is to look at the registration and be like, oh, I see your name's on here, your email address. Is this the right way? Is this the best way to reach you, kind of thing? Just because giving your card to somebody,
that's true,
it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a contact. Like, ideally you want to get their contact information. So if they seem like they might, and I've had this happen before, like people come in, fill out a BS registration form, or just put their email address,
take your card,
and then but then they when it go through the house, they're actually interested, and I'll be like, okay, is this the best way to reach you? And okay, no, you know what, I'll give you my cell phone number. So, you know, it's like, oh, okay, so now like you're actually being real. But like that's what happens. So try to make sure you have their right contact information, and as you said, then you can move on to other people as well, and you don't miss out on other people that might be interested too.
Yeah, I've got another thing I learned today that I forgot to mention earlier, and this is the first time I've seen it, but it's going to become more prevalent. This is the first listing in a little while where we put out feature sheets, like hard copy feature sheets that are out there, and all the information we could need is on there. And there were a couple of people who had particular questions where the answers were on there. Or they wanted to visit the website afterwards. Can I go to the website for this to see somewhere? This is an auction listing. They wanted to see the auction. And I told them the address, and I said, in the end, why don't I just text it to you so I can, you know, get your number.
That's smart.
But it's also on the feature sheet. And so I'm like, do you want to take that? And both of them backed up, not because they don't like feature sheets, but because they've got a strict, we're not touching paper or anything rule in the world we're in right now, which I can totally understand.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So they said they took a picture of all the sheets in the feature sheet and saved it to their phone, which was interesting.
But a couple of things on that though, like as you said, like if you have like the home inspection report, or if it's a condo and you have the status certificate, that is also a great way as people are leaving. Do you want me to email you a copy of the status certificate? That's perfect, because like people are like, yeah, like, that's great. And then that's how you continue the conversation. So I think that's really important. And also QR codes are making a comeback. I think it's because of what you just said. People don't want to actually take things. So probably start adding QR codes maybe to your in your listings, so that people can just grab a picture of it as opposed to taking something physically.
I think it's fair to say now everybody can access a QR code. Where like in the past,
it's built in your phone.
Well,
like
it is, but I don't think people like it was weird and tacky and seemed like it came in and disappeared. But now with restaurants and with all this stuff, it's something that people are now programmed to do.
It's so crazy how quickly the switch has been for menus at restaurants. Like I cannot, it's just like, it's a given now. Like, oh, like our menu is like right on this QR code. And you know, the first couple times I'm like, oh, that's kind of odd. But now it's like, that's what it is.
Smart. Yeah. So put that out there. Yeah. Save yourself the printing costs and just have some really nice, you could have a couple of really cool QR codes in the house that say, hey, learn more about blah, blah, blah. Cool QR codes. Wow, that was one of the nerdier things I've ever said. You could have some cool QR codes. Anyway.
All right, that's all we've got. Because or you keep going. Are you going still?
Oh, you mean operators are no longer standing by?
My operating headset is honestly digging into my head right now, and I don't know how much longer I can go.
That's upsetting.
But I will keep talking to you if you have more to say.
No, I mean, we could talk all day about it, but this is honestly the tip of the iceberg. It is. Like, open houses are making a comeback like QR codes now.
This is the tip of the iceberg.
This is the tip.
What iceberg?
The open house iceberg.
I feel like we got to the bottom of the iceberg. Like, I don't know what else we could have
covered. The bottom of the iceberg.
Yeah. What else could we talk about?
I don't know. I like to talk. It's fine.
Well, we will be here next week. So
operators will be standing by.
No, this is good. This is not going to last much
that
longer.
Headset
I don't know.
Epic.
Ow! Like it really hurts. I could maybe just loosen it up a little bit. It is really digging into my head.
Well, that's why they're adjustable.
I don't know why. Like I got these for board meetings, and I don't know how I could sit in an 8-hour board meeting with this headset on.
Have you ever actually used that in a board meeting?
No, I feel bad. Like they said they'd order them for us. And so I'm like, okay, great. And then I got it and I'm like, oh, I just thought it was going to be like little earbuds or something. So I've got my own little earbuds. That's all I use. But maybe this thing is better for the audio, potentially. We'll have to see once we do this.
No, you sound great. You sound like what I would expect from that little,
you look like an operator.
That icon in my bottom corner. You sound like what I'd want to hear when I click the button.
What's your face like? Like, no.
Why would that be her face?
I don't know. Oh my gosh! Everybody that's not listening to this are
we're gonna put this up on. Well, it's up on YouTube now. Now that you're listening to it, it's up on YouTube. So go visit us on our YouTube channel.
You have to go and you have to start following us just for like the face I made.
Yeah. So honestly, the video is better than the audio on these podcasts. I don't even know if the audio is going to come through.
I'm crying.
I'm crying. Oh, it's so sad. Oh, you're the crying operator.
No, but what face in the bottom of the screen is
it's smiling. It's not the face you just made. What operator? Operator is terrified. It's a good question though, because I don't think they're holding phones because they already have the headset on. Like they wouldn't have the headset and a phone. Okay, you want to try it again, or no? You're done.
I'm so done.
Okay, well. Whoa!
Right.
What was that?
I was trying to hold back tears.
It's okay. Let it out. Let it out.
We're done.
We'll do an after-hours therapy session once we turn this off. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you for listening, as always. And thank you for bearing with us. And we will be back next week with another episode of Level Up, where we will talk about great new things. And unfortunately, Katie will not be wearing the same headset. So this is
one-time deal, everybody. It's a one-time deal.
This is not the tip of the iceberg for the headset. Right. This is the whole enchilada. It's done. It's being sunk.
All right.
So anyway, we've already told you to follow and subscribe, so do that.
Have a good night. Have a good night. Have a good week. Whatever. I don't care.
Have whatever you... I don't care.
Just do whatever.
Yeah, do what you do. Go have a good open house.
That's right.
All right.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Level up.